The Beef and Barnsey Show, brought to you by Bowlersmart.com, trusted by bowlers around the world since 2004. By Lightning Strikes Bowl, home of Bowlers Mart Pro Shop. By Platinum Ford, drive the difference. By Fire Lake Bowling Center, 24 state-of-the-art lanes. By True Grit Coatings, drive on our passion. By Road to Grip, king of them all. By 900 Global, striking worldwide.
Good morning and welcome back to the Beef and Bardsey Show. Once again, the band is back together, and hey, if we're going to get back together, might as well talk about the most polarizing item in bowling. As usual, I'm Barnsey, joined by the unimitable Beef Stew.
How are we doing? I was kind
good.
of avoiding this subject until the USBC dropped their survey bombshell yesterday. So I figured as they've we'll break it down. We're going to attempt to stay within the realms of fact. And then once we veer to opinion, we will try to make it clear that this is our opinion rather than any sort of fact. Might be a little difficult because everybody is invested one way or another. If you see some of the posts, you'll realize the giggle that I had yesterday was realizing that all of the Brunswick employees are now going to have Belmo in their Facebook feed algorithm for the next 3 months. So I thought that was pretty funny because he agreed with them. So they had to retweet everything he said because he's a genius now and he was a moron and a cheater the previous 2 years. So,
well, Brunswick also sent out a letter to every one of their people that are under compensation and told them to vote not to ban it. So, I mean, fair play.
Ryan, appreciate this. This isn't really how we're going to deal with this today. Says SPI had to pull several balls over polish issue. Whatever the issue was, they weren't conforming to the specs as the USBC were putting out. Marshmallow soft pearl. I understand everybody's frustration, but we're not going to go. That isn't the direction we're going to go with this. This is more of a philosophical debate, I think, is what we're aiming for. Now, it might get off the rails, and of course, as per the rules on the Beef and Barnsey Show, if you put in a question that you pay for, we have to answer it. So there you go. But
you would never get off the rails.
Event hasn't even started yet, and Ryan in here already cooking. He's talking about Ryan Martin doing the super chat early on. Morning, fellas. Yes, Beef and Barnsey. Who would have thought it? Back together again. But on another right, congratulations on winning your 803rd regional yesterday.
It's always fun to win. And 2 months ago, I didn't know if I'd ever do it again. So
yeah, winning is always fun regardless.
Yeah.
So yes.
I did
a nice win.
I did have a pretty good lead in game 3, and I did think I've been further ahead than this before for a title.
Against him.
So I'm not saying I left a mark, but
yeah. And the thing is he was thinking, I've been further behind this guy and still won.
Right. He's like, yeah, I did say it to him afterwards. He goes, yeah, that wasn't happening today.
Nico with the comedy guest, Chris Barnes. Are we talking about the ran on rubber balls? Haha. Good morning from Dublin, Georgia. Well, what's going on?
Right.
Morning, Stephen. Scott, what's going on? Hey, Chris is bowled many high roller sweepers with you back in the day at the Showboat. So,
all right.
Made the start. That's always a good thing. Let's go back to rubber.
Yeah, that's a little off the rails. I mean, really, what we're talking about. I mean, what we're really talking this talk about aside from what's best for each person. And like Stu said, it's almost impossible. Every Facebook comment by a professional basically tells you what's best for them, one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what I've seen so far is if you're rev dominant, keep urethane. If you're rev deficient, get rid of urethane. If you're rev deficient and you want to keep it, you're compensated by Brunswick. And if you don't care which one they get rid of, just get rid of one or the other, then you're a lane man.
I mean, so for the people who don't know, basically USBC did a survey and it wasn't very scientific. They basically sent out they put a survey up on Facebook, which is where I saw it first. Apparently they had one on Instagram. I didn't see the one on Instagram. And then they sent out an email, and with no surprise, the Facebook got the most responses, which was 12,500 people responded. Now, please bear in mind that the USBC have somewhere around 1 million members. Like that would be give or take, whatever. We're somewhere in that range. On Instagram, 800 people responded. Oh, that was Instagram and X. Was 800 people. They sent out surveys to Open Championship participants, which was about 6,000 response. The Women's Championships was about 920 responses. Youth Tournament, they got, give or take, 450. The PWBA, they got 56 responses. The PBA got 33, which is no surprise because the PBA bowlers are absolutely the worst at responding to emails. It's not even remotely close. As a group of people, we are awful at it. And then senior tournament people, 56. Now, when you got the email, it didn't say why you were getting the email. So it just said, hey, do you want to vote? So when I got it, I just assumed that they'd exhausted the Facebook poll and then I was getting 2 votes. Now, I guess my second vote came as a PBA player. But I mean, it could have also come as an Open Championship participant. And then for you, of course, Chris, you could have been in the senior tournaments, the PBA tournaments, the Open Championship tournaments.
Yeah, I don't know.
And you don't really know.
And I saw it on Facebook and I voted on there first. I did see it on Instagram.
I did
not vote on that because I had already voted once and I felt like but
so pretty much it was fairly consistent, the voting throughout, because the 3 options were basically go to the PBA rule, ban it totally from everything, ban it from national tournaments, leave it the same, and who cares? Like, it doesn't affect me. And basically, ban it totally and doesn't affect me were the lowest, by far and away the lowest responses. They were about 3% each. Like, so basically nobody picked those.
That was banned at all levels, period, I think.
Sorry?
That was banned at all levels.
No, they had 2 different ones. They had ban it at all levels and I don't care. And both of those were like 3 or 4% apiece.
Everybody cared. But yeah.
So I was kind of surprised that there wasn't more responses in the nobody cares. It doesn't affect me, don't care. But anyway, ban it from all USBC competition and continue allowing it exactly the same were somewhat similar. Like, continuing was slightly more than ban it totally. But then, so they were both about 38%. And then allowing it was about 15 to 20%. And that was pretty much consistent through all of the people who were polled. I mean, Facebook was like 5% more for continuing to allow it. and then Instagram was about the same, whereas the Open Championships was basically flopped. More people wanted to get rid of it who bowled the Open Championships. Women's Championships, the same as the Open Championships. And then the youth bowling was way more people, like 10% more people wanted to keep it the same, which isn't really surprising because in the youth tournaments, there's way more of the people who are using it than not.
Yeah.
So PBA, for whatever it's worth, was the outlier for this. We actually had the most of our, most, it's kind of strong because we had so few people who responded.
I think there was only 30 that responded.
It was 12 said go to the PBA rules, 11 said ban it totally, and 9 said stay where we are. I can tell you, I know for exactly guaranteed who the one person was who said ban urethane from USBC national tournaments only, because that was me. So unless my vote didn't get counted, that was me. The reason why I said that was because I want it to go away, but I don't see in any possible situation they can just ban it totally. And then lo and behold, that's what they said in their conclusion. So I understand we've gone around the horses, we've gone a bit around the around the circus a little bit here, but basically USBC, it seems like from the way they've written it, they feel like something needs to change by the way they've wrote the conclusions.
Yeah, and I'm certainly not going to speak for anyone, but if you're gonna change it a little bit, I think you're just kicking the can down the road. If you really feel like that the issue is, and it seems like how they wrote it, one of the major points they finally brought up is that for those that don't know, urethane kind of snowplows oil down lane and puts, with PBA tour rev rates at least, puts a lot of oil down lane. And when the lanes are flat, it really matters. Sometimes it pushes the scoring pace up 10, 15 pins. Sometimes it pushes it down, 10 pins. The bigger issue is going pair to pair and who you follow. And that's the only thing really, that's the information the ball reps do give the players on their staff, is how many guys threw urethane on that pair and where they threw it from.
One thing I will say is with the change to the 78 urethanes, I felt like it's made the left-right a little harder to control.
Exceptionally hard, even on the senior tour, which you think would not be an issue.
Because the players can only, it's in play for less time, and because in general players can't hook it as much, the carry down spot is very consistent on the right side across the house, and it creates like a wall of oil in front of the head pin that the higher rev rate guys can just destroy. So when we had the softer urethanes, there was a lot more shape being bowled, and that made it very inconsistent pair to pair, because if you followed somebody who could hook the shit out of it, their break point was way further right. Whereas if you followed me, if you guys were to follow me, there'd be almost none outside of, say, 7. Whereas if you followed somebody like Kyle Sherman, who was exceptionally good at hooking it a lot, he could get it back from 2-3. So that part of it. Hey, real quick. So you currently have listed this in a fairly good order. I would say that the only gap that you kind of have that I see is you don't really have a smoother, weaker ball. So depending on what your rev rate is, that would be the only spot I would think, where you don't necessarily have that kind of smoother ball. Like the bottom of your arsenal is the Virtual Energy Blackout. I think, Vibo. So the Virtual Energy Blackout, this Marvel Pearl AI, and the High Road 40, they're all fairly angular balls, I feel like. So something Smoother down there might be an option, but that's pretty much the only gap I see, because I think up at the top you're going to kind of go Ion Max, Physics Blackout, and then depending Rockstar or Pro Solid.
Yep.
Your
Yeah,
thoughts?
Hustle. Yeah, one of the Hustles down there at the bottom.
Yeah, that new Hustle Earth is pretty smooth. IQ Tour even might be an option. Just something like that. I don't necessarily think it's a huge pressing need, and if you're a bit lower rev rate, you probably don't need it at all. But if you are a little bit higher rev rate, I think that would be an option. But overall, I think you're doing a pretty good job of collecting balls that are mainly different from each other and kind of grouped together fairly well.
Yeah,
so, good work.
Well done. Does stain really impact pin carrier ball hook tremendously? And lane transition can be annoying, but it just seems a non-issue. It's much less an issue on league stuff. On where there's friction and defined friction, it is annoying, and it just comes out of the same thing. And it's become an offensive defensive play at the tour level, and it's very difficult for a layman to predict if the right-handers are going to use it for 20% of the time or 80% of the time, and thus what the lane's going to turn into, and then whether the right or left can be somewhat equitable. We've had way too many lopsided tournaments in recent times to where all the lefties bomb them or all the lefties get shut, quote unquote, shut out, and their scoring pace is just too far behind the right.
And I mean, for me, I think that when it comes down to it, for me, I feel like this is my position on it anyway. My main issue with it existing in the professional game, like I'm not really going to get into like and youth as well, to be honest, is I just feel like it makes bowling really fucking boring. Like it's like Groundhog Day or 50 First Dates, because every tournament is the same. Like, and I understand that they can go to like super like extremes to not have urethane, but when they go to the super extremes, there's very rarely more than one way to play the lanes. And in my experience, like of bowling, like I bowl for a long time for a living, and the most fun I have either watching or participating is when I watch Chris bowl, for example, and he's bowling straight and he's doing really well, and I go, okay, I'm going to try and bowl straight. And when I can't do that as well as Chris is doing it, finding another solution that I could do that maybe isn't as forgiving for Chris, but maybe I'm better at making the shots over here, and like that balancing act. And I so very rarely these days, and it was very obvious when we watched the matches, when it was head to head, everybody's bowling in the same spot.
Yeah, the multiple angles of attack, it just don't exist. Neutralized by urethane. So there's really mostly one angle of attack most of the time.
Yes, and
that doesn't mean it's always to the left, but whatever it is, it kind of is.
There's pretty much only one solution. If you can't do that from the get-go, you almost might as well go home.
Rick says, and this is a great point, it's a shape we need, and both the manufacturers and bowlers will react if that ban happens. What do you think they will do? I think the manufacturers will go back to making some wood. We'll go back to making some reactive balls that are smoother and maybe not quite as aggressive as what we have right now, where everything, even low-end balls, are pretty aggressive covers. There's weaker cores, and then the bowlers will adapt. I mean, the best players are the best players, and so they'll go and figure out ways to match up some drillings and add some rotations or lack of rotation to kind of make the ball trap a little bit. And some players will add a higher end top speed again. And
yeah, I mean, need is a interesting phrase to me. I don't think you ever need.
I think there's a need for a smoother control shape.
No, but what I'm saying is it's all relative to the field.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I think the fresh in general, they've always, well, in every short pattern, you need control.
yeah. I'm not really
one way or the other, whether it's balls.
But what I'm saying is you don't need that exact shape. Is all I'm meaning that the urethane's making. You can create that shape with something else.
Yeah.
Like the scoring pace might be a little lower, but that exact shape isn't. Yeah. Yeah. I like I say, for me, I just think that the competitive sport in Europe is almost like there's so many guys quitting because it's just the same thing every time. And if bowling really wants to just turn into a long drive contest, which it feels like it's doing right now, like, then cool. But there's way more money in other sports, so the most athletic people aren't going to bowl. So to me, if if the only way to be competitive is to have a super high rev rate, you're going to have less people because that's a certain skill set.
Glenn, thanks for the super chat. Good morning, gentlemen, both of you being sportsmen. What would be another sports comparison to the urethane ban? Congratulations to you both.
The belly putter.
They're currently rolling back golf ball technology now. They have their own coefficient of restitution on golf clubs because it started to get out of hand as well. And there's talk with a lot more.
Yeah, the reason why I was saying about the belly putter was a lot of the arguments that have been made for keeping urethane were similar to the belly putter, which was, well, there are certain golfers who have never played without it. And like the USGA basically, and the RNA just said, yeah, we don't care. Like, that's not how we envisioned it's supposed to be. And they did something else. And that's the other thing about this survey that people seem to like. It feels like USBC are fucked if they do and they're fucked if they don't. Because now I read this morning people saying, yeah, the USBC are acting on a survey where only 21,000 people responded or whatever. Like, and it obviously, it is what it is. Like, people would have responded on different platforms. But they seem to think that they have to go with what the majority want. And that isn't really what the governing body's there for. In my mind, anyway. Like, if you pooled everybody, there are plenty of changes they've made that wouldn't be the most popular answer when it was asked. And I mean, it kind of proves that by the fact that the thing that they said was, let me find the angle. USBC is not considering a revocation of approved bowling balls or rules that would prohibit urethane balls from USBC leagues or tournaments that choose to allow them. USBC is not considering changes that would justify a return or refund for any bowling ball. So more people voted for that option than they did for only doing it in national tournaments. In fact, only doing it in national tournaments from their survey was the least. But that's the only one that's in any way plausible.
Yeah, for the most part. I feel like this is a Masters, US Open, Junior Gold, collegiate bowling.
Team USA.
That kind of rule. And at that point, the real thing, which they can in PWBA, but basically their owned tournaments. And then at the league level, it'd be a lot like the storm balls where you're not going to, if you have them, you can throw them. That's where a lot of people work. So, and then the real question becomes, does the PBA match it so that the sports entities are finally aligned with a set of rules?
Yeah. So me and Chris are very good on the arguments for a ban. No, they're still discussing it, Larry.
Oh yeah. And I believe one of the things I said was nothing before January 2027.
Oh, I hadn't seen that.
But I don't know that was I read it, did not from a source, but he said, so I need to look that up.
And then there's an exact example. If USBC gave out a survey in 2010 of whether two-handed bowling should be allowed, it would have been in favor of only one-handed.
I don't know if they'd made enough difference yet. Nobody cared until they were beating everybody.
Yeah, but what all I'm saying is like,
Somewhat.
I think the point he's making is there are more one-handed bowlers than two-handed bowlers, whatever anybody wants to say. Still, there are still more one-handed bowlers than two-handed bowlers. So if they did a survey and everybody responded, they would say that two-handed bowling should go away because there's so like it's another polarizing issue.
Yeah,
obviously it shouldn't.
One adult in the room. There we go. People are still going to bowl regardless. I'm the guy eating popcorn, enjoying the panic mode of people.
I mean, that's to some extent that's true, but like it's not. That's not true in Europe. Like their tournaments have less people entering. Like they might enter more, but there's less people entering, and the average age is significantly lower. So they've got new bowlers in. So a lot of older bowlers that they already had have stopped because they just don't see the point of it, and because the tournaments are like really boring. Like it's just not that much fun. The same thing happening. I mean, like Dom barely goes and plays half the events in Europe now.
Well, I think a lot of people, are on the fence about going to bowl Sweden now. It's kind of the same thing. If you don't love throwing,
here's another. Like Adam, no, we're not. Like USBC is the governing body of bowling.
Yeah, I guess
they make the rules.
Short term, it is us, but yeah, in general, IBF has followed USBC rules for the most part.
And here's a wild thing, right? You can actually look at the rest of the world and see that experiences in different parts of the world can lead you to making decisions. Like it doesn't have to only be a US thing. Like,
yeah, it's.
Here's somebody who's been hanging out with you too long. Dan Knowlton said, my vote is just put some oil in the front 8 feet of the lane. Yeah, and that's the other thing as well. Like, I've read a bunch of posts that are blaming the amount of oil on the lane, right? And while that may be true or may not be true, I just hate the fact that everybody thinks that there's like one thing that's going to just like, if we did this, everything would be fixed. No, it wouldn't. Like,
if the layman just tried, they can eliminate urethane. I like that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. For 8 years, they've been trying.
Yeah. And it's just so like frustrating because to me, I don't necessarily want them to eliminate urethane. I just want there to be a playing field that's different the majority of the times I bowl. That's it. Like, and if that means 1 week we put 15 mils of oil on the lane and 1 week we put 45 mils of oil on the lane, cool. Let's do that. Let's not just do the same thing over and over and over again and just end up in the same spot. And that's like part of it. I mean,
yeah.
Jim, a person who's used a urethane or two in his time.
Yeah.
He says, isn't urethane in play more now because the pattern all have similar breakpoint windows? If the buff distances were consistent, because what Jim's saying is almost every pattern is oiled to about 25 feet and buffed out, like give or take. Like they have different scenarios, but
no, they've moved the drop brushes around a lot in the last couple of years, trying different ways around the same thing. It doesn't. It has some impact, but they certainly haven't come up with something that went, oh yeah, when we do this. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and more. Oh yeah. Which ones?
Yeah, and that's
I watched
part
guys
of the
use it on
thing.
46 feet seniors this week on a 40-year-old surface. Like, yeah, not saying it should, but
Why is it boring? What? Why is it boring doing the same thing every single week? I don't understand. Like literally, the moves are the same. Everybody does the same thing. It's hideous. It's unbelievably boring. Like being able to find a different solution is fun. Being able to bowl different parts of the lane is fun. Like bowling in the same spot with the same ball every time is boring as fuck. Like everybody in the bowling center using the same product, like
yeah.
every time, regardless, is painfully boring. I guess you want to keep it, Adam. Like, but that's my main issue with it. Like, yeah, it's not exciting to watch. Like, it's just the same thing over and over again.
This is actually a good point, but I'm going to tell you why it doesn't work. And this is one of Stu's favorite things. Could not allowing surface change on urethane make a difference instead of banning it? A rule you cannot enforce is not a rule. And how are you going to stop somebody from putting 180 on it before they get there?
And surface scanners aren't cheap and they don't work super quickly. And yeah, totally unrealistic. Like, I understand where everybody wants to say, oh, it's just easy. Let's just limit the surface. And then somebody says,
sorry, go ahead.
Well, yeah. And that this is the same thing with Casey. But they'll say limit this. If you put less oil on the lane, people won't use as much surface. Well, yeah, they probably will because like people just throw it harder.
They're not running the first 7 or 8 feet in the lane anyway. So when you throw reactive, you don't throw a lot of surface on your reactive balls, but you do throw 360 on urethane balls.
Yeah.
And it just changes it. It's, yeah, I mean, that shape, in reference to Rick, and I think I know him well enough that I don't want to speak for him, but I think it means just being able to control the lane and control and minimize the hard part of the pattern.
Yeah.
That's not going away. And the guys that have power that can use a ball that controls all of their power so that when it hits the pins, it matters, it will always be, control balls and angular balls are kind of, I mean, when you really dumb it down, it's about half of an arsenal. And the more power you have, the more control balls you have.
Europe is pretty bad for sure. A big consequence of urethane issues here are that left-handers dominate because the right gets absolutely trashed. That's because you've still got the soft urethanes.
Mm-hmm.
With the hard urethanes, I actually see the opposite, to be honest.
Yeah, there's had more weeks where lefties have actually been shut out since
they have to be so easy right now. And that's not because the lefties aren't good bowlers. It's just because if the pattern starts in any way flat, the right-handers all do the same thing, and it just gets so easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the righties play the track because that's where the friction is most of the time, and the lefties play the gutter and carry down oil in the gutter. So,
hey, I guess he's using a pitch black to shoot his spares. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I
take some polish off your plastic ball.
Yeah, I mean, your level will probably work also.
Yeah, and I guess USBC has come up with another. It has to do with plasticizer. If I'm paraphrasing, I haven't had a chance to read through all of it yet. I've been bowling every day, so. But I guess the information is out there to be had
about what makes a urethane.
Yeah, where the line is and what balls are on the list, what are not. I guess so. So something like a natural or a pitch perfect, maybe pitch purple, like they have enough plasticizer in them that they actually.
Okay.
So there is a line that's measurable.
Yeah, because like I say, on this they used the examples they used was the new blue the Storm Level and the Yellow Jacket would be fine.
Hendershot, this is a common misconception, and we were on the same plan for a long time, that we thought the reason why balls were carrying down is because they didn't flare. But it turns out that balls that don't absorb snowplow oil down the lane versus picking it up. And then additionally, the flare will keep it from laying it back down. But urethane balls, whether they flare or not, all transition a lot. I mean, 16-pound black hammers flare twice as much as 15-pound ones. And falling them doesn't change anything other than the fact that it actually makes it feel like it's more because they have more angle with those. And they carry down even more.
Casey, you obviously didn't read what they put out because it absolutely wouldn't. They specifically say examples of non-high performance balls that are not under consideration for removal: Storm Mix, Hammer Axe, Motive Sniper. They're very specific about that isn't part of the thing. And the point that they're making is, and this has been the point for a while, realistically, this situation was about 2 balls or 1.5, depending on which way you look at it. The Purple Hammer and the Pitch Black. Like, it wasn't really about any of the rest.
Yeah, I think there's a list of 18 balls total. If I'm
yeah, I mean, on the thing they shipped out last night, they just list the Storm one. It says examples of high performance balls that could be removed from national tournaments. It says potentially impacted. Like, and it says the list above is not exhaustive. This is just examples. So
yeah, why not just do what Motive doing in Microcell Polymer? I imagine that would be the reaction early on. Some form of that. Maybe epoxy will come back. The EPX rising from the dead.
Yeah, well, as to say, maybe the USBC changed it, but that's not what they wrote, and we're gonna go with what they wrote.
Yeah, this is just semantics. They can't ban urethane because that is the base of all balls, but yeah, so it's where they drew the line in a different spot, and that's why we didn't know what they would do. PBA is using oil absorption rates. They're regulating by plasticizer and amounts, and done enough data and research that none of us have done, I guess, to figure out where it stops shoving oil down lane and where it yeah, right. I know, I'm a little mad. He's got a couple more of them, and he hasn't he's not exactly offering to share with some of I couldn't throw it anyway, but yeah.
It's also a bit heavy for most of his contemporaries.
Yeah, maybe a touch. But this is a good point, because this is an ultimate control ball that was around that nobody cared if you used because it transitioned the lane the same way that the rest of the balls transitioned. And most people didn't like it because it was too much control at the time. Maybe should have liked it more than they thought.
I will say, I've got to read this text, and I'm not going to say who this was because I don't really, that isn't really the point of it. I think that when the USBC spoke about, they felt like player development had been, had declined. Somebody posted this on Facebook, and they're left-handed, and they were serious. Like, and they're not, and the person is a fairly decent bowler, but they wrote, if urethane does get banned, what's the move to help left-handers?
Let me introduce
urethane helps left-handers keep up when the left has no pattern development, no patterns over 25 mils, ? Left side of the pattern, no flatter than 4-1. Genuinely curious. And I was just like, they live in a fucking different world. Because that person wasn't writing that to be a troll.
Yeah.
They were genuinely fascinated as to what the solution was if they couldn't throw urethane. And I honestly believe that in the short term, there's going to be some pain for some of the left-handers, but in the long term, if you want to make a living, a consistent living as a left-handed bowler, this is the only way you're ever going to do it. Like, if the urethanes stay around, it's always going to be absolutely pot luck as to who gets blessed that day. And which one of the lefties you're behind on the cross and yada, yada, yada. Yeah, I mean, like I say, I just, when I read that, I was just absolutely blown away.
Is the USBC okay with an old reactive ball that has lost most of their plasticizers and plug pores? They used to soak balls out of the box to fill the voids for urethane. I would say, because again, I believe it transitions the lane more similarly, which at the competitive level is probably most of the issue. Well, there's also that.
Chris had one that was about 40% plug.
Yeah. Rod Ross, we started plugging one of them that had cracked through the fingers and just pouring it hot, and it just kept more and more and more. And you're like, oh my God.
Where's it going? You like start picking it up, like, where's it going?
It felt, like Norm was like, ooh, this side weighs more than the other side now.
Yeah, you had to remeasure. You probably didn't reweigh it, but you probably should have done.
Well, I think I had to put another weight on it. Oh gosh. Somebody asked about weight holes, if they felt like this was kind of a similar deal, and I think weight holes were a separate issue that largely was I think retrospectively aimed at two-handers, because they were putting both a thumb hole and a weight hole, and I mean, it really significantly changed the course.
I was about to say, the official reason for weight holes, for whatever we're saying, is that they had a spec, and with the weight hole, you could put the ball out of spec. That was the official line. So by drilling the holes into the ball with the weight hole, you could increase the differential past the max differential. So that's why they got whatever we want to believe or not believe. That was the reason why. Now, Dell Ballard argues that in that case, why hasn't the soft urethanes already been totally banned? Because they go below the spec while you use them. And that was effectively why you got rid of balance holes, because they could go beyond the spec by putting the hole in. So in that case, because a lot of the time they say, well, that was always an argument with the urethanes. And I know we've gone a little off topic here, but well, we've got to wait for it to go back to its natural state because it heats up when it bowls and it gets softer. Yeah, but when are they using it? Like, surely it makes more sense for you to test it just after they've thrown a shot with it than it does 45 minutes after it's gone, because I only really care what it's like when they're using it, not when they're not using it.
Yeah, Trey says, wasn't the EPX softer? It wasn't. It did. Chad was around at Columbia when that EPX came out, and I do think that's why oil absorption rates came to have a limit,
because that thing sucked it in.
I threw some test balls there that we were decades away from being able to put enough oil in the lane to stop it from hooking. I mean, man,
it's one of my favorite stories when you tell that, when you had your strongest ball and you threw it and it was like a plastic ball. And then you threw the one that they said, this is number 3. And there was like a scale of about 8 and it went straight the left gutter.
And then they ran it again and it went in the left gutter again. And then they ran it 2 more times, just over the top, no more stripping, and longer. And finally I got it to where I could hit a pin. I'm like,
and you could throw it fairly firm. I mean, you might not have been Eugene firm, but you could throw it fairly firm.
Yeah, and you could try and make it stop a little. It was one of the better things for bowling. That one probably didn't stay together because that ball was a problem.
Oh shit, that's funny.
Rick says he soaked things with that soaked resin with things that there's nested things pattern. Now is that similar things to what urethane does now, or different? Been a while, so I don't know.
Yeah, I just,
Yeah,
I mean, the argument for I guess the argument for keeping it is, it's the most effective tool that's currently available to solve the pattern, for one. For two, players have developed their whole game based on having that. So is that fair? Just because they feel like it isn't anything against that certain player. That certain player is being punished because it has an impact on the rest of the field. So should a company who's developed a product that's significantly better, or whatever we want to call it, be punished because their product is more effective? I guess that's the argument.
yeah. I mean, if the urethane ban goes through, would high-level players just find some combo of surface, new ball tech, layouts to get the same result? Yes. Then we're back to square one. But no, because this is largely the biggest issue at the competitive level is because it transitions the lane the opposite of the other tech. I mean, you could make a really good argument that maybe we should throw only urethane.
Yeah.
But the marketplace and the fact the ball companies prop up most of what happens tournament-wise around the world, that would dictates that that's probably not what's going to happen. And that,
well,
I think reactive ball sales across all three companies is probably it is fairly strong right now, and so
let's do an informal poll. We've got 400 people in. Let's do a yay or nay, just because I'm fascinated to see what these people are. So if you think it should go, say yes. If you think it shouldn't go, or you think it should stay, say no. And we will see. And we're only talking about the national tournaments, because to me it's going to be totally impossible to police at a state level. Like, I still see people strolling into league with balance holes and getting upset about it, like when they can't use them. I mean, right. I saw a ball like last season, I think it was, or the season before, they had tape, like gaffer tape, over the balance hole. I'm like, oh, you broke the rules. You broke the rules twice.
Yeah.
Okay, we got quite a few people responding. So 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 3, 6, 4, 7, 4, 8, 4, 9, 4, 10, 4, 11, 4, 12, 4, 13, 4, 14, 5, 5, 15, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, we're a little bit ahead on the no. Yeah. Hey Cliff, we have bigger issues to worry about in bowling. Let it be. I disagree with that, but yes. Yeah.
On his side of the business, there's different things that certainly affect him more than us.
No, and I agree that there are a lot of things that are wrong. I just don't necessarily agree that we should just not worry about it.
Tony says yes, but only for right-handers.
Well, you don't want my solution. My solution's easy. I think we should ban lefties and urethane. I don't know what lefties add to the sport. Like, there's so few of you. Who cares?
Man of the people. Well, some of the people. I don't know if it would actually multiply. It's the one. Well, I mean, it will change. I mean, I think
I
bullet
think
club
it's.
drama. Period. I think it would just change what the. It's been the same thing for a while. So it
I
might.
think it really depends who you're talking to. I think it's a bit like it's a bit like this country in politics. It's like everybody's so convinced that like everybody's so like, oh my God, Trump won by miles, and it's like 52-48 maybe. And it's like, that's a lot of people who don't agree. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's like when they went out of the EU in Europe, in England, right? Or in Britain, and we voted to leave the EU, and it was like 50.9 to 49.1. And they're like, well, we've got the majority. And it's like, by the time we left, like, I think they said something like 12% of the people had died who voted. And there was like a bunch of young people who didn't get to vote, who are now old enough that they, it's just, yeah. Yeah. I think it's one of those issues that's so polarizing that, I think I could get way more support for me having a poll over whether we should ban lefties. I think I could get more people to agree we should ban lefties than to ban urethane.
So if urethane is banned, do you think it will impact the growth in youth sports because they rely on it so much?
I don't know is the answer. Because for every kid who bowls two-handed who has an advantage with it, there is a one-handed kid who doesn't have a super high rev rate, who's totally crippled by the fact that all of the two-handed kids have such a big advantage now, or all the high rev rate kids have such a big advantage now. So, yeah, don't know.
Yeah, the offensive defensive play on that side is pretty massive at junior gold because you negate all the straighter players. Yeah, Jesper would disagree with you. You eliminate their ability to hook it at all, and while also you getting more control for yourself.
Oh shit. Yeah, I mean, me and Walter have me and Parker have had a couple of arguments about things, but we get on pretty well now. I like when he got very upset with me when I said that the round robin was the biggest advantage to lefties format wise. When he said it was the fairest, and I said, well, it really depends.
It should help them. Help who?
Maybe he's talking about banning lefties. It should help them find employment.
Right. Yeah. Cliff says, I would say 95% of the people bowl once a week, regardless if it's organized or not. This does not affect. If I look, my Facebook feed is comprised of the other 5% you would think is going to determine the future bowling. Like most things on social media, it's the loud 5% that's been allowed for a decade now to
it's not even 5%
policies at every level. I mean,
20,000 people voted out of 1 million.
Right. The rest of people probably don't really care. It's the people who are directly affected are the ones voting on it. And most of this won't affect any of those 95% because I don't see any way where you take it out of league play and the start of it.
I will say, Cliff, I am one of the few pro bowlers who bowls multiple leagues. And league bowlers do get quite annoyed by urethane. I've seen a guy get kicked off his team because he refused to throw anything else. And the four on the team said, well, you got to go. We don't want you. And they threw him off the team.
Well, I mean, you could probably make some type of argument that that's why Christian Escona wasn't drafted on teams in the PBA league.
Because people felt like he was.
They were afraid of what he might, of what he was doing to the lanes, even though he was a top 20 player, I think 2 years in a row. Let's see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
Ryan
mean,
says two-handers would help him learn how to bowl a little bit better. That's in response to Buddy's response of whether you impede or you accelerate the growth of youth sports.
I just think that the difference is part of the reason why so many kids continue to bowl two-handed is because they have so much quick success, and then that ignites a passion when you're being successful at something. If the growth is like super slow, it's very hard. Like, for example, Ryan's a fairly good example of this. If Ryan decided at 18, like he did, that he was going to stop playing basketball and he was going to decide to make the improvements and bowl one-handed, I find it hard to believe that he would be the 12th best bowler on the PBA tour if he'd bowled one-handed in that short of a period of time. Like, maybe I'm wrong. Like, maybe it would have been the most miraculous improvement of all time. But to go from the kid who bowled, who looked like he didn't know which foot he was about to step off, to making multiple TV shows, that's quite a big improvement. Because, I mean, I think Ryan will tell you he was shocking one-handed. He didn't get any of the skills to bowl one-handed off you and Linda. That wasn't his thing. And the minute he started bowling,
he didn't have a giant rev rate.
No, but I mean, it didn't really click for him. And the second he started bowling two-handed, like, you saw straight away, like, oh shit, you've got like some feel for this. And like, obviously it's a little rough to start with, but like the growth curve has been incredible.
Yeah. And hey, along with lefties, can we ban bald guys with glasses?
I've still got hair.
Dan Knowlton is chipping in about right now.
I did make an argument about bald people with Graham Farr when they were talking about percentages of lefties and righties and how many lefties have made this many cuts. And like, I don't particularly like percentages for that, because the problem with percentages is it rates the best lefty at the same rate as the best righty. And with all due respect, there ain't a lefty on earth who's close to being as good as EJ. So it kind of makes the argument nil and void to me. And so when he kept making this argument, I said, well, 15% of the field is bald. Does that mean that a bald guy should make the show every other week? And he knew I was being a bit of an ass about that, but that's why I was laughing about bald. Malcolm, thank you for the super chat. When my man's on our team, when they ban urethane, what keeps bowling manufacturers from creating an arms race with new products? Nothing. Let's be honest, if Hammer didn't have the black purple, there wouldn't be inequity like crazy. I don't know that's true, because the Red Bull that Storm have, the IQ and the pitch black, have won a fair amount of tournaments. Like, if for a long time this was true, that the pitch black had won many more PBA national titles than the Purple Hammer did. For as many people as talk about the Purple Hammer on the national tour, now maybe some of it was because Belmo was on our staff and he was using the pitch black a lot at the time.
Yeah, he did. Jesper might have skewed the stats slightly.
Between Jesper and Belmo and Troop, they won more than their fair share. So, yes, I mean, to be honest, if it starts innovation within the industry and people, you know, maybe this is the thing to kick on for bowling balls to, you know, be different. You know, I feel like it's been a little bit stagnated, shall we say, a little bit in recent times. Kickstand Kirk, He says, been bowling 40 years, never really owned a urethane ball. I did buy a Mark Roth urethane ball when I was a kid at Kmart. I just adjusted to the conditions. I see that a lot. I don't really like that one. Sorry, Kurt. I don't like the I just adjusted. Yeah. That's a phrase I don't really like.
Yeah.
I think that's a very simplistic way of looking at it.
If they do ban urethane, should all players get their asterisk next to their titles? Let's not be silly.
Yeah.
They won with the rules of the word. So
hey, yeah, fuck them.
well, I just averaged 252 for 7 games on a 44-foot pattern. I mean, he's a really good bowler.
I was about to say he is good at the bowling, though.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like scores just now got invented. 3858 existed 70 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, Graham also has won several tournaments using reactive balls.
Yeah.
But if they do, I was about to say, if they do get rid of the urethane ball, I am going to be the first one to tell Graham that the 2 titles he's won have both been won with balls that are illegal now. Oh, shit. I'll tell Graham, holy shit, Graham, all you have to do to get rid of a ball is win with it. Then it's gone.
I do think one of the things that would happen is because lefties can play the gutter, so they have entry angle with urethane, and they've had to make patterns harder on the left to keep the spaces close. And then as the change in hardnesses change that balance, that we didn't react well enough. But with reactive, I think the ratios would actually go back up on the left a little bit. And it would solve some of the problems of the right-handers getting in on top of them, but they would have something to throw it to versus the other way. That's my 2 cents. And then, long patterns and lefties have always been an issue.
See, right now I don't think so, but unless you're talking about my ban, then he'll probably.
Yeah. Cliff agrees. Two-handed does make it faster to see improvement. It's good for the growth of bowling.
And we say that, yet we have less registered bowlers every year.
But not youth bowlers.
No, I get that.
Youth bowlers haven't. I mean, it's your and my generation that are gone.
Yeah, but I mean, total bowlers, we have less. And the youth bowlers clearly aren't transitioning into adults in the same way. Because if there was so many more youth bowlers than people quitting, then once the youth bowlers transition to adults, it would fill in the gap.
I didn't say more. I just said there's more.
No. I'm just saying, I just feel like the growth is a very relative term.
Well, we have a problem where someone owns half the bowling centers in the country and has 10% youth leagues. They're not trying to develop that group either. So
no,
that is a problem.
Josh, nice to see you. Let's just keep dumping more and more oil on the lane and keep making oils thicker and thicker. Again, I'm just trying my best to not lose my shit over this argument. Put less oil on the lane sometimes. Put more oil on the lane sometimes. Stop trying to find one fucking solution. There isn't one solution. We know there isn't one solution because there isn't one. There isn't a right way. You watch the British, watch the Open. I'm not going to call it the British Open because it's the Open. And then watch the US Open. They're both 2 great tournaments, and they are totally different. If you miss by an inch at the US Open, you're in rough that's 17 feet deep. You might end up on the opposite side of the fairway of the next fairway and still be fine at the Open, but it's just different. And that's what I want for bowling. I just want a different challenge. Stop trying to find one solution. There isn't one solution. Whatever solution we come up with, whether it's banning urethane balls, putting less oil on the lane, keeping urethane, it's always going to favor one style.
Yeah. I think we're in agreement on this one for sure. What the idea of variety wasn't for the PBA Tour to go from 29 mils on every pattern to 33 mils on every pattern. It was to have 40 mils on some patterns and 22 mil or 25 mil or whatever, as long as the manufacturers know and have equipment around. Yeah, let's have variety. Let's see tools. This have enough oil that guys really can't hook it every time at whatever speed they want to throw it, And I get it, sitting at home, that seems silly. It's just not an environment that people are familiar with. It's just checkers and chess. And so,
yeah,
it's a hard thing to explain because you can't see it.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Not even sure if he's talking to me, but I'm going to take it.
They used to ask for wider DOCs. Not sure that's thicker. I didn't hear what the viscosity of Glide was, but that was interesting. They used an oil that that hadn't been on the market.
And I didn't really have an issue with that at all.
Yeah.
Like you didn't know what the pattern was. And if they'd have told me it was Glide or they'd have told me it was ice, I wouldn't have gone, oh yeah, it makes a lot of sense it wasn't ice. Like, people are like telling me, oh, I see massive differences between the oils. And I think that they misunderstand. I'm not saying that you wouldn't say a difference if they put out one lane with ice, one lane with terrain, and one lane with something else. I'm saying that if they pick all of the oils that are in the middle, like ice and fire and whatever, I wouldn't know which one it was just by walking into the center and throwing like 10 shots. Like, if they put them down next to each other, you could probably make a guess. But like, I don't see the way, like the way ice and fire break down to me it isn't like so obvious that, oh man, it's obvious we're bowling on fire this time, not ice.
We did a test with Team USA this is 15 years ago, right? 12 years ago. So it was Tommy, Bill, Fagan, myself. It's a pretty good group.
Mm-hmm.
And we bowled on two lanes right next to each other. And we went back and forth. And in 45 minutes, we changed our mind 3 times that we really couldn't tell.
Yeah. It's so in everybody's head.
Marketing for the most part.
Yeah.
That 4 degrees was not massive enough that the center characteristic kind of took over for the oils. And it made a little difference, but it wasn't crazy. It wasn't easy to go, oh, wow. I mean, we bowled for a minute. Yeah, this is a point that Rick's made for a while. And that lane technology does make some of the problems, because when you hand oiled lanes, righties and lefties both had to move as they went across the house. It's not an issue at the house level, league pattern level, but it's one of the things that makes the left really get away when it's good is they go to the next pair and it's basically the same.
Brady's playing me a tune. Just
there we go. And Josh, I can't help it if you will not listen to the arguments at all. I can't help you if you just want to hear what you want to hear. But there's some really good reasons to at least have the discussion. You know what they are. You just don't like them. And I get that. But you also don't bowl in that environment. So I don't get you to understand necessarily. So, Nevin, do layman adjust patterns? But not as much on the tape stuff anymore because we don't have it everywhere. But based off of what they see, they should, to help keep that left to right thing as fair as possible. I want that the variety thing, I guess. I don't know what my game is at this point, but mostly moved on to some other players.
There was somebody, I think it was Malcolm. Shit, where is it? He wrote about USBC.
Someone's asking
about what
clarity.
Yeah,
why urethane or all through urethane? They're talking about all in this case. I think they either want to. I mean, there may be a possibility for the 78, but most of what the PBA rule, I guess, is how you say it. but they're looking whether to really address that issue of how lanes transition and give lane man a chance to keep it closer. And I don't know that they can, so it is all theoretical. It may just be different problems. Those are all legitimate arguments to not do any of it. But I get the feeling they feel like going to the PBA rule is just kicking the can down the road a little bit.
And to be honest, I think the PBA rule has created much more inequity in tournaments.
It's turned out, which is not what I would have thought would have happened.
No,
but
it's a bit it's a bit like the economy of the country. Like, you know, you do one thing, a bunch of people think it's going to do this, a bunch of people think it's going to do that. You don't really know until it happens. No, I didn't. Well, how do you know it hasn't been approved?
I don't approved and not used, not been released is two different things.
And also, that gets me onto a totally different problem. I feel like whatever Kegel do is approved. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, nobody who's regulating that side.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's no testing of what their oil's like from batch to batch. Like, it could be told. This is the one I was saying. The USBC are actually doing way more to try and change the variety of the way the patterns are than anybody else. Like, way more. Like, Nick is constantly being called a clown because he's like fucking putting oil here, there, and everywhere. And like
the graphs, the pictures look funny, and people go absolutely
they lose
crazy.
their mind.
But he does the college events too, and those college events are massively dominated by urethane.
Yes.
And so he has to deal with that and way more games and all the issues that come with that. And
basically, anytime a coach is involved with the team, urethane is dominant because it's the easiest thing for the coach to tell the players to do to be able to control the pocket.
I think this is probably a pretty solid take here. Testing a new oil during the OC is a great idea. It's the best time to do it when no one has a predetermined expectation. Yeah. Blame JJ for anything, Kegel.
Rick says, if the strike percentage goes down, you fix a lot of problems. I mean, let's go. Although the strike percentage being really low 2 weeks ago made me think that I was actually bowling well. It wasn't. It was just that the lanes were so hard that sparing was an issue, was like important. So then that allowed me to win, because when I went to the Lucy, it kind of explained to me that I wasn't bowling very well, even though I just won. But anyway, this has been a fun chat. I feel like we tiptoed the line. We probably went a little bit more towards opinion at times, but we tried to debate. I guess we debated the reasons to get rid of it and tried to keep our personal opinions. Yeah, no, terrain is on the extreme side of it. I mean, I'm sure you can tell the difference between terrain and
everything.
What's the Brunswick oil?
Yeah,
absolute control.
Yeah, 22 and 80 is it? You know, but 60 points different, not 4. 45 and 41 is the difference between ice and fire and ice. Other than marketing, they are relatively close.
Yeah. If they were called ice and rain, I don't think people would think there was so much difference between them. So, yeah. Anything else, Chris? Do you have anything else to let these fine people know about? But I feel bad about ending it when there's so many people in the chat, but I don't really know where else we're going with this.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, and Rick says no bowling ball rule solves any important issue. I think it addresses it, but yeah, I don't think, like many things, that there is no one thing that's going to create a giant boom. I don't think. I mean, I think I think players have to, you know, have their own accountability and do their own small things that create a 1% growth. And then, you know, you have manufacturers can create some of that, and coaching creates some of that, and bowling center ownership creates some of that. And there's a lot of things that go into it. Maybe pin regulations, we can control some of the factors of the sport a little bit, but as far as growing the sport, lots of that has nothing to do with whether we change technology of the bowling ball or not. Oh yeah, you're a big battle bowl guy now.
Yeah.
Let's argue in person. Can we bet a haircut?
Oh God. Somebody, Charles, how you doing? If you ever get chance, check out the hype on YouTube. He does a bunch of ball reviews. Yes, Gremlin does seem like it's a pretty useful piece. I do think that, strangely enough, I think it's actually better for lower rev rate players. I've seen a lot of success for the ladies. My wife really likes it also. Yeah, like for me, sometimes it's a little, it can get a little forward because it changes direction so hard. But yes, definitely a nice addition.
I got nothing. We're got a few days off. I have the TOC next week, starting Tuesday, of course, because that's.
Do you know there's a regional in Florida that bowl, and not in Florida, in the South, that was Wednesday, Thursday?
Huh? Is that what the super regional in Virginia? There's some kind of.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that super. It was paying 4,000.
Okay.
The one Doherty's leading by miles. I mean, no way Doherty's leading the regional. Feels like every time I look in the South, he's leading the regional.
Not last weekend. We finished 43rd in the seniors. By the way, we didn't throw urethane. Banning urethane for tournament, would that be accepted? Would say Longview.
I mean, if you did it beforehand, you couldn't like just get people to turn up and then go, oh, by the way, no urethane today. Like in Finland, they have a tournament that sells out every year. The non-urethane tournament. It sells out every year. Like it's got bigger and bigger and bigger. I think they've run it 3 times now, and people love it. Like they like. Surprisingly, there isn't as many two-handers bowling as one-handers, but like people like, it's almost like nostalgia now, which is kind of funny. Using the new balls is nostalgic. Yeah.
Sean Ryan's gonna have to get a wig to look like Rick in 25 years. So, but
yeah.
Yeah, Norway. It's become, like I said, like Stu brought up earlier, in Europe, it is a massive issue, and tournament bowling is declining rapidly because of it. So it's not just a who cares issue everywhere. It is mostly a tournament issue, but that is what makes the world go round there. It's just a different setup. So anyway,
yes,
yeah.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's been good. I appreciate the votes. I like the discussion. I think, and I don't think there's easy answers. And this is one of the times I really don't envy the USBC taking on an issue that's so polarizing that, a 55-45 majority is maybe as good as you get.
Yeah.
I mean, 60-40 might be a slam dunk on something like this.
Yeah.
So, what makes the sport go further in the future? That's where you're trying to get to.
Yeah, I mean,
like what's best for everybody right now.
I don't think there is the right solution to this. For me, I'd love them to do it because I just want to see some change. I want to see some different things, and mixing string pins in and having no urethanes. Like, I like it being shaken up, and we will see if that happens. It'd just be fun to see people's reaction and people improving and adding tools to their game.
All right. Till next time. Thanks again. We have the best crowd in bowling, the most knowledgeable crowd in bowling, and I appreciate all of your input from all the many different areas of bowling. Between now and the next time, please support the sponsors support us: Storm, Rotogrip, Niner Global, Coolwick, Bowlers Mart, Firelake Bowling Center, Lightning Strikes, and of course, Platinum Forward. Till next time, stay safe, stay healthy. God bless.
All right. Take care, guys.